Good morning, Shavua Tov, Agutavach, happy Chanukah, and happy Rosh Chodesh. Today, Sunday, December 5th, is the second day of Rosh Chodesh Teves. So we are also saying Ya'aleh V'Yavo, in addition to our prayers that already contain Ala Nisim for Chanukah. We are saying Musaf today for Rosh Chodesh and adding the appropriate psalms at the end of davening, both for Chanukah and for Rosh Chodesh. Now, if you got that down, let me throw another something into the mix. As of last night, as of Saturday night, Motzei Shabbos, with the first weekday Amida that we said at the conclusion of Shabbos, we changed the ninth bracha in Shemona Esrei, in the Amida. We had been saying V'tein bracha, give us blessing, in the Birchas Hashanim, in the blessing for sustenance, parnasa, livelihood, and all that. Last night we changed to V'tein tal umatar livracha. There's a whole shtickle on it in the Ezra's Torah Luach. You can find on the OU.org website. You can find explanation of why this is so. In other words, why we changed this part of our davening according to the secular calendar. It has to do with the seasons. Is the short answer to that, and how to accustom yourself. Some people say that you should repeat that phrase over and over again, so you accustom your mouth to saying the proper phrase. Because if you say it wrong, you've got to go back and either repeat the bracha from there or repeat the whole Shemona Esrei if you already finished. Okay, not to make things too onerous, we have changed to V'tein tal umatar livracha. So put a little post-it in your siddur or remind yourself some other way that's where we are now. Let's talk about two mitzvot in Maimonides' Sefer HaMitzvos, in the 613 list of 613 mitzvahs. Both of these have to do with a fugitive slave, a fugitive bondman. Judging by the notes that contextualize Deuteronomy 23 verse 16, if you take a look in the Chumash, you'll see we're talking about in times of war, in times of siege, when amidst the confusion, slaves try to use that opportunity, the fog of war, as it were, to make their escape. So we have a mitzvah, very interesting mitzvah, which could give way to a lot of conversation. We are forbidden to hand over a fugitive slave, a fugitive bondman. By this prohibition, let me just read you what it says, and then we'll talk about it. By this prohibition, we are forbidden to deliver up to his master a foreign bondman, a foreign slave, a non-Jewish slave, who has fled for refuge into the land of Israel. Even if his master is an Israelite, is a Jew, since he fled from abroad into the land of Israel, he's not to be delivered up to the master, but his owner, his master, must liberate him, issue him a manumission document. There's a word, there's an SAT word for you. A get shichrur is what it's called in the halacha, a ticket, a document that shows that he's been liberated. This prohibition is contained in the words, like we mentioned, Deuteronomy 23, thou shalt not deliver unto his master a bondman that has escaped from his master to you. It's explained in the 4th chapter of Gittin that the Torah is talking about a bondman who has fled for refuge from abroad into the land of Israel. And they're obviously, as we said, the master is supposed to write him a get shichrur, write him a note of his freedom. In no circumstances is this slave to return to his serfdom, seeing that he's come to dwell in the clean land which has been chosen for the exalted people. The explanatory note here says that if the master refuses to write this get shichrur, this document of liberation, the court, the Beit Din, is empowered to write it. Upon its receipt, the bondman acquires the status of a ger tzedek, he becomes a righteous proselyte, and so on. Now, let me add another footnote from the notes here, and then my own footnote, and if that doesn't put you to sleep, I don't know what will. The universal significance of this, I'm reading from the notes in the book here. The universal significance of this and the following commandments was well expressed by the late Rabbi J.H. Herzog. I think that's Rav Herzog, the first chief rabbi of Israel, first Ashkenazic chief rabbi of the state of Israel, and grandfather of the current president. Fun fact. He writes as follows: in the Code of Hammurabi, famous early legal code, which is the product of a well-advanced civilization, aiding and abetting in the elopement of a slave was a crime punishable by death. The Mosaic Code commands, by contrast, he doesn't say this, but I'm saying this, by contrast, thou shalt not deliver unto his master a fugitive slave. Nothing approaching this can be found in any other ancient code. The Deuteronomic command clearly tends in the direction of the abolition of slavery. This in an article, or maybe a book, The Main Institutions of Jewish Law by Rabbi Herzog, Volume 1, page 45. You could look it up. Okay, let me just add one more thing. So clearly, just to underscore what we're talking about here, we are forbidden to return a fugitive slave to his or her owner. I found out in my reading and researching over the last year and a half, that there was such a thing as a slave Bible in America. If you haven't heard this parsha of American history, it's not one we're very proud of, nor is it one that we've completely made peace with and finished up. In other words, we haven't tied up all our obligations. We haven't come clean on this yet. America was founded on slavery. It was an institution, and slavery was an institution, a major economic boost for the colonies and the United States of America for the first significant chunk of its history. There was such a thing as a slave Bible, I found out, which was something that owners, plantation owners, slave holders, and slavers, now we're supposed to call them, could purchase and could read to their slaves, had read to their slaves. I don't know how many could read, but this was for them. It contained an excerpt of the Bible. In other words, not everything was there. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that this mitzvah of the prohibition to hand over a fugitive slave was excised from that. We'll have to find a copy of the slave Bible and see if this was left out. But there you have it, a clear biblical instruction that we are not to return fugitive slaves to their owners. Just wrap up for today with one more mitzvah because it's connected. We're also forbidden, the next mitzvah, next prohibition, we're forbidden from wronging a fugitive bondman. This prohibition tells us that we're forbidden to wrong the bondman who has fled to us. What's our source here? Same section in Deuteronomy 23. We're not to. We should not say to ourselves, the slave will not care if I wrong him by speech. He's lucky to have his freedom. So that's that. It's clear that the bondman here are referred to by the Torah and the proselyte, the Ger Tzedek, like we said, whom we're forbidden to wrong, are persons who have accepted the Torah as their law. That is to say, righteous proselytes, right? Okay, so more notes on that we can discuss another time. Anyway, enjoy the seventh day of Hanukkah. Tonight we are lighting 8 lights. Zois Hanukkah begins tonight, the last day of Hanukkah, the most light of Hanukkah, when the entire menorah is illuminated. May the world truly be illuminated with the light of Torah, and we should all appreciate walking in the light. Have a good day. Guten Chodesh, Freilich and Hanukkah, all good things. Thanks for tuning in and staying this long. Bye.